Have you ever woken up in the early hours of the morning, watching the sunlight begin to creep through the gaps in your curtains, but the only thing you felt was a strange, hollow emptiness? You stare up at the ceiling and suddenly feel as though the entire weight of the world is pressing down on your chest. It isn't necessarily a sharp sorrow or a specific pain. It is a shapeless fatigue, a quiet discouragement that slowly siphons the vitality out of every breath you take. Welcome back to Everyday Better You. Here, we pursue a simple yet powerful philosophy, getting 1% better every day. We aren't here to daydream about distant miracles, but to rediscover ourselves within the reality of the present moment. You might have promised yourself countless times that tomorrow will be different or I will start my life over, yet when dawn arrives, the same old script plays out. You realize with bitterness that you are drifting further away from the person you once yearned to become, but do not give up just yet. The reason isn't a lack of dreams, but rather that you haven't yet learned how to reignite the fire that still smolders within you. You don't need a cataclysmic event or a magical day. What you truly need is a single moment of awakening. And that moment, I believe, can begin right here this very morning as you listen to these words. The great Jim Rohn once left us with a priceless reminder: don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. If you are ready to reclaim ownership of your life, to stop being a victim of circumstance, and to begin writing the next chapter of your own story, then this episode is for you. Listen, not just with your ears, but with your heart. Because if you let these truths sink into your soul, you will never want to live a dim, faded life again. Part 1. The Pillow to Floor Revolution. We often speak of change as something monumental, a grand gesture that shifts the trajectory of our lives in an instant. However, the truth is far more grounded. Every great revolution in history, every massive shift in human achievement began in a very small space, the distance between your pillow and the floor every single morning. This is where the battle for your life is won or lost. Think about those mornings when the alarm goes off. Instead of jumping up with enthusiasm, you find yourself paralyzed, staring at the ceiling with a heavy sense of dread. It's a fatigue that has no name, a subtle despair that leaks into your breathing, making the world feel like an unbearable weight on your ribs. You remember all the times you promised yourself a fresh start, only to find yourself trapped in an endless loop where today is just a carbon copy of yesterday. You look at the person you wanted to be, and they feel like a stranger standing on a distant shore. Why does this happen? Why do we settle for mediocrity so easily? It isn't because your dreams are dead. It's because you've forgotten how to fan the flames of your own spirit. You are waiting for a magic day to arrive and fix everything, but the reality is you don't need a miracle, you need an awakening. That awakening starts when you are brave enough to admit that you've been living a life asleep even while you are wide awake. Jim Rohn, a master of philosophy and personal development, taught a lesson that echoes through time. Learn how to be happy with what you have while you pursue all that you want. This isn't just a quote, it's a strategy for living. Awakening doesn't mean rejecting your current life. It means accepting your current reality with a fierce, unwavering determination to move beyond it. The greatest pain you will ever feel isn't the pain of failure. It is the crushing weight of regret for not having lived to your full potential. When you stay in bed for an extra 5, 10, or 30 minutes just to scroll aimlessly through your phone, you are effectively selling your future for cheap, short-term hits of dopamine. You are allowing yourself to be swept away by the trivial, living according to the schedules and expectations of others instead of carving out your own path. Your mind is at its most sensitive in the morning. It is the time you lay the foundation for the next 16 to 18 hours of your day. If you start with lethargy, you will end with regret. If you start by hiding, you will meet fear at the end of the road. Waking up isn't just about opening your eyes, it is about opening a new awareness of the value of time and the opportunities the universe has granted you. Every morning you wake up is a reminder that you have been given a second chance to rewrite what was left unfinished. The mistake most people make is waiting for motivation before they act, but emotions are fickle, shifting like the wind. Only discipline is permanent. Motivation might get you started, but it is the habit of morning awakening that carries you across the finish line. You must understand that you are not a victim of your circumstances. You are the driver. You are the one holding the pen, and you are the one who decides how this story ends. Are you brave enough to put your feet on that floor, lift your head high, and tell yourself, today I will live differently? The difference between a successful life and a stagnant one lies entirely in how you treat the first hour of your day. High achievers treat this as their sacred hour, a time to connect with themselves, reprogram their mindset, and strengthen their faith. Meanwhile, those who struggle allow that hour to be consumed by the chaos of notifications and social media drama. Jim Rohn warned that if you don't design your own life plan, you will likely fall into someone else's plan, and they don't have much plan for you. Awakening is the moment you pick up the brush and start designing your own masterpiece. You start asking the hard questions. Who do I want to become? How must I live to be worthy of that version of myself? Will I create my own beautiful day today? Or will I wait for it to happen to me? Every small act you perform in the morning, whether it's folding your blankets neatly or drinking a glass of warm water, is a brick in the foundation of your new life. When you consistently do the right thing, when no one is watching, you are telling yourself, I am trustworthy. And once you become trustworthy in your own eyes, you become unstoppable. Others may doubt you or overlook you, but as long as you do not abandon yourself, you will stand firm. Never forget that the only hero you truly need is the one looking back at you in the mirror. That person has survived every heartbreak and every fall just to be here today. You owe that hero an extraordinary life. Part 2. The power of self-transformation. In our journey through life, we often fall into a common psychological trap. The desperate hope that the world around us will somehow become easier. We spend our energy wishing our bosses were less demanding, wishing the economy were more stable, or praying that the people in our lives would finally understand our struggles. We look outward, waiting for the wind to change direction so that our ship might finally move forward. However, the legendary Jim Rohn once shattered this illusion for millions with a single, steely truth. Don't wish it were easier, wish you were better. Đừng ước mọi việc dễ dàng hơn, hãy ước mình mạnh mẽ hơn. When you spend your days waiting for the world to change according to your whims, you are essentially handing over the keys to your life to strangers and external forces. You become a passive pawn on the chessboard of fate, living in a constant state of anxiety over fluctuations you cannot control. But the very moment you choose to focus on changing yourself, you reclaim absolute power. Self-transformation is not a painful obligation or a punishment for who you are now. It is the ultimate act of liberation. It is the realization that while you cannot control the storm, you can absolutely become a better captain. This shift begins with a fundamental change in your internal dialogue. Most people are stuck in a victim loop, constantly asking, why is this happening to me? To transform, you must pivot to a more powerful question: what can I do to overcome this? This is the transition from being a victim of your history to becoming the architect of your future. You must understand a universal law. The outside world is merely a mirror reflecting your internal state. If your inner world is defined by chaos, lack of discipline, and fear, your outer life will inevitably be a series of corresponding troubles. Jim Rohn emphasized that success is something you attract by the person you become. Thang kong la thu barn thu hu boy con ngui ma barn tro thang. Therefore, instead of running around trying to manipulate external circumstances, your primary job is to upgrade your internal operating system. This is where our philosophy of getting 1% better every day proves its worth. It isn't just a catchy slogan. It is a tactical manual for building internal strength. When you become stronger, the problems that once kept you awake at night suddenly seem small. When you become more disciplined, the goals that felt like distant dreams suddenly fall within your reach. The greatest enemy of transformation is the wait for a better day syndrome. Many people delay their growth because they are waiting for a surge of inspiration or a moment when they feel ready. But inspiration is an unreliable friend. It comes and goes based on temporary emotions. Real power lies in taking action precisely when you do not feel ready. You do not need to overhaul your entire existence in 24 hours. You only need to master this moment and then the next. Every tiny decision, choosing a book over a social media feed, or placing your feet on the floor the second the alarm rings, is a declaration of your sovereignty. These small actions are the most durable bricks used to build a new, more powerful version of yourself. A critical aspect of this evolution is the integrity of doing the right thing when no one is watching. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, no matter how small, you are building self-esteem and internal trust. When you become a person you can actually rely on, you develop an aura of authority that nothing can shake. Others may doubt your potential or even abandon you on this path, but as long as you believe in yourself and refuse to abandon your own mission, you will remain standing. Self-transformation provides you with a solid inner pillar that keeps you moving even when the world seems to turn its back on you. We often fear change because we fear the unknown and the discomfort of leaving our comfort zones. But you must ask yourself, is that zone truly comfortable? Or is it just a cage that prevents your growth? Living an intentional life instead of a reactive one requires immense courage. Instead of letting emails, messages, or random events dictate your mood, you must wake up with a clear purpose. Start your day by asking, how will I live today to be worthy of my best self? Do not wait for someone to come along and pull you up or inspire you, because they might never arrive. You are the only person who will be with you from the beginning to the end of this journey. To change yourself also means to stop the habit of blaming. Blaming is the fastest way to strip yourself of power. When you blame the weather, the government, or your past, you are admitting that you are helpless. But when you take 100% responsibility for your life, a massive power awakens within you. You realize that while you cannot control what happens, you have the absolute ability to choose how you respond. Jim Rohn famously said, "You cannot change the seasons, but you can change yourself." Bạn không thể thay đổi các mùa, nhưng bạn có thể thay đổi chính mình. This is the key to freedom. Transformation is not a destination. It is a continuous process that has no end. Every morning you wake up is a fresh opportunity to choose again who you want to be. Do not be discouraged if you stumble and fall back into old habits. The important thing is that you recognize it and immediately return to your commitment. Change doesn't come from an external miracle. It comes from the accumulation of small, conscious choices repeated every single day. This is how you create an extraordinary life out of ordinary moments. The power to change is held firmly in your hands, and it starts the very second you decide that good enough is no longer enough. By focusing on your own growth, you stop being a victim of the direction of the wind and start being the one who sets the sail. You move from a state of being used by life to a state where you are using life to create something meaningful. This is the essence of Everyday Better You. It is about understanding that you are the project, the creator, and the masterpiece all at once. When you change your internal frequency, the external world has no choice but to harmonize with it. You aren't just changing your habits, you are changing your destiny by becoming the type of person for whom success is an inevitability rather than a stroke of luck. Part 3, killing the victim mentality deep within the mind of every individual. There is a silent, persistent voice that seeks to blame the outside world whenever things do not go as planned. We find ourselves pointing fingers at a traumatic past, at people who walked away from us when we needed them most, or at the financial lack we currently face. However, on the journey of Everyday Better You, you must come to a brutal but liberating realization. As long as you hold on to the idea that you are a victim of your circumstances, you are voluntarily locking yourself in a prison without bars. A victim can never become a victor because they have already conceded that the power of decision does not lie in their own hands. To truly awaken and embody the spirit of getting 1% better every day, you must have the courage to put your feet on the floor, look directly into the mirror, and boldly declare to yourself, I am not a victim of my circumstances. I am the writer of my own life story. This is the moment where the old you dies and the new you begins to breathe. The master teacher Jim Rohn taught a principle that acts as a lethal poison to the victim mentality. You must take personal responsibility. You cannot change the circumstances, the seasons, or the wind, but you can change yourself. Bạn phải chịu trách nhiệm cá nhân. Bạn không thể thay đổi hoàn cảnh, các mùa hay hướng gió, nhưng bạn có thể thay đổi chính bản thân mình. It does not matter how miserably you failed yesterday, nor does it matter who caused you pain in the past. The only thing that carries weight in this present moment is whether you're brave enough to live differently today. When you stop complaining about what you lack and start taking action with what you have, you are stepping out of the shadows of passivity and into the light of internal power. The victim mentality is a master of disguise. It often hides under the cloak of seemingly reasonable excuses. You might tell yourself, I don't have enough time, I wasn't professionally trained, or I didn't have a good head start like others. But remember, life is never absolutely fair, and it is under no obligation to favor anyone. The only difference between a hero and a victim is how they choose to respond to adversity. The hero in the mirror is the one who has walked through fire, who has smiled while their heart was full of tears, and who kept moving forward even when no one understood their path. That person is you. You deserve an extraordinary life, but only if you are willing to forfeit your right to complain. Every morning, you face a choice. You can either carry the heavy baggage of the past, the grudges against old friends, or the regrets of old mistakes, or you can drop it all and start fresh with a blank sheet of paper. Never let your past define your future. If you keep looking backward to find reasons for your current stagnation, you will miss the opportunities standing right in front of your eyes. Discipline is the key to maintaining this shift. Instead of waiting for someone to come and save you, you must be your own hero. You are the only person who will live with you from the beginning to the end of this journey. So why would you hand over the remote control of your happiness to anyone else? Ending the victim mentality also means you must stop seeking pity. Pity might provide a momentary comfort, but it is a slow-acting toxin that withers your will. A strong person does not need pity. They need self-respect. When you persist in doing the right thing, when no one is watching, when you rise early to train your mind instead of sleeping in to escape reality, you are asserting your human value. You are telling yourself that you are reliable, capable, and that you will never give up. That is the moment you become unstoppable. Look at the lives of the great figures in history. They never started on a path covered in roses. They were underestimated, abandoned, and crushed to the point where it seemed impossible to stand up again. But they were different because they refused to see themselves as victims. They viewed every trial as a test from the universe to temper their inner steel. They understood, as Jim Rohn said, that success is the result of a few simple things repeated every day. And the simplest but hardest thing is to keep your mindset in the position of a creator, not a victim. We often fear that we are not good enough or perfect enough to start over. But the truth is, no one starts perfectly. You only need to commit to not giving up on yourself. Every morning that you choose to live rightly, to hold your head high despite the negative echoes of the past, you are building a new identity. This is the identity of a master, someone who never makes excuses, someone who always finds a way instead of a reason. Life has no room for procrastination and whining. It only reserves its rewards for those who wake up with a clear why and live with intention. Let this morning be your own quiet revolution. Erase all plans for escape and face the tasks that need to be done. Do not let fear shape your path, and do not let old habits lead you down the familiar road of failure. You are the captain of your ship. You choose the direction and you write the next chapters, making them stronger and clearer. When you truly live with the consciousness that you are 100% responsible for every result in your life, you will see a miraculous power rise within you. That is when the real magic begins, not through luck, but through the complete awakening of a soul that has decided not to be a victim for one more second. Walk with the faith that every step you take, no matter how small, is toward your best version. You don't need to prove anything to the world. Just looking in the mirror every morning and seeing someone living true to their values, seeing a hero fighting for their dreams, is already a grand victory. Remember, a person who has lived an awakened life will never settle for a vague existence ever again. The door to a new life is open today, and you are the one holding the key. Part 4, intentionality over reflex. In this digital age filled with endless distractions, most of us are living in a state that I call living by reflex. You wake up, and the very first thing you do is reach for your phone. You reflexively react to message notifications, work emails waiting in your inbox, or sensational drama on social media. The moment you do that, you have officially surrendered the ownership of your new day. You are no longer living for your own goals. Instead, you are running after the schedules and expectations of others. The legendary Jim Rohn once left us with a deeply profound warning. If you don't design your own life plan, chances are you'll fall into someone else's plan. And guess what they have planned for you? Not much. Nếu bạn không tự thiết kế kế hoạch cho cuộc đời mình, rất có thể bạn sẽ rơi vào kế hoạch của người khác. Và bạn đoán xem họ quy hoạch gì cho bạn? Không nhiều đâu. Living with intention is about reclaiming the pen to draw that blueprint yourself, rather than letting the current of life toss you around aimlessly. Living with intention begins by asking yourself powerful questions every single morning. Instead of letting your mind drift into a void, ask yourself, who do I truly want to become? How will I live to be worthy of that version of myself? And what will I do today to move closer to my goals? When you have a clear reason to wake up, you will no longer be swept away by meaningless trifles. You will stop reacting to urgent but trivial matters and focus on what truly matters for your future. Do not live a life that is busy but directionless. Live a life where every action carries a specific meaning. Why is living by reflex such a dangerous trap? Because reflex is the instinct of survival, but intention is the key to growth. When you react by reflex, you are letting fear, pressure, and old habits shape your path. You become like a dry leaf floating on a river, spinning in circles when you hit a whirlpool, or flying away when the wind blows hard, never able to choose your own destination. In contrast, a person living with intention is like an architect meticulously placing every brick for their house. They understand that every passing moment is a non-renewable resource, and they choose to invest that resource into sustainable values rather than temporary pleasures. Jim Rohn emphasized that success is not something magical or mysterious. It is the result of a few simple disciplines practiced every day. Living with intention is the most rigorous practice of that discipline. Instead of waiting for interest or inspiration to strike before working, you work because you have committed to your goals. You do not wait for a beautiful day to start. You create that beautiful day through your own proactive attitude and actions starting from dawn. You do not live to be seen or to prove anything to anyone. You live to truly feel yourself progressing, transforming according to the rule of getting 1% better every day. To escape the spiral of reflex, you must build mental filters for yourself. Learn to say no to things that do not serve your greater purpose. If you wake up without a clear plan, you will easily be pulled into useless conversations, bland entertainment videos, or the unnecessary troubles of others. Remember, your energy is limited. If you use it all to react to everything around you, you will have nothing left to create your own future. People who live with intention protect their time and their minds like a treasure because they know it is the only weapon they have to change their destiny. Every morning you wake up is the time you need to reload your mental operating system. Do not let the anxieties of yesterday or the pressures of tomorrow overwhelm the present moment. Take a deep breath, connect with yourself, and reaffirm the core values you are pursuing. When your values are clear, every decision becomes incredibly easy. You will know what you need to prioritize, what you need to give up, and where you need to focus. It is no longer about straining or forcing yourself. It becomes a natural flow of consistency between thought and action. Imagine if, for the next 30 days, you started every morning by writing down the 3 most important things you must complete instead of checking your phone immediately. Just this one small change is enough to transform you from someone always chasing after problems into someone leading the game. You will find yourself more alert, stronger, and calmer in the face of any event. Proactivity gives you a sense of power that no amount of luck can match. You no longer crave external recognition because your internal self-respect has been bolstered by every purposeful action you take. Life will never stop sending you challenges and distractions, but when you have chosen to live with intention, you will see right through that fog to the path you are taking. You no longer live by instinct, but by consciousness. You no longer let the past decide the future, but use the present to create a more glorious new chapter. Start today, from this very morning, be the driver instead of the passenger on the ship of your own life. Because ultimately, the only person responsible for your happiness and success is the one looking back at you from the mirror every morning. Live like an internal warrior, someone who always knows exactly what they are fighting for. Do not let a single day pass without a mark of proactivity. Every step you take, every word you say, and every deed you do, let them all point toward the best version of yourself that you are perfecting step by step. When you master your morning, you will master your day. And when you master every day, you will master your entire life. That is the miracle of awakening, the power of a soul that has decided to live rightly, live deeply, and live with purpose to the very end. By moving from reflex to intention, you stop being a victim of chance and start being a creator of choice. You realize that your life isn't happening to you, it is being created by you. This transition requires you to be fiercely protective of your attention. In a world that profits from your distraction, staying focused on your own intent is a radical act of self-love. It means choosing the long-term satisfaction of achievement over the fleeting comfort of avoidance. As you walk this path, you will find that the 1% better isn't just about output, it's about the quality of your presence. You become more than just a person who gets things done. You become a person who knows why they are doing them. This clarity is the ultimate competitive advantage, allowing you to move with speed and precision while others are still trying to find their footing in the morning fog. Part 5, discipline, the bridge to achievement. In the vast world of personal development, there's a classic quote from the master teacher Jim Rohn that has become a North Star for anyone wanting to touch the hem of success. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. Ki lort la keiko noigira muktio bathanktur. You may possess the grandest dreams, and you may have written the most perfect plans on paper, but without the discipline to walk across that bridge every single day, you will forever remain on the side of expectation, gazing longingly at the shore of achievement. Discipline is not something mystical or high-flown. It is simply the act of choosing to do what is right even when you don't feel like it, and even when your body is screaming for rest. Why do so many people fear the word discipline? It is because they mistakenly believe that discipline is the loss of freedom. In reality, the opposite is true. A person without discipline is the one who is truly unfree, as they are constantly a slave to their momentary emotions, their bouts of laziness, and the cheap temptations that surround them. When you possess discipline, you are setting up a protective system for yourself. You do not need to wait for motivation to strike before you act because you understand that motivation is temporary while discipline is permanent. Never underestimate the power of small actions repeated over time. A tiny but correct action, when multiplied by daily persistence, will create a massive result that will eventually surprise even you. Jim Rohn emphasized this by stating, "Success is nothing more than a few simple disciplines, practiced every day. Thành công không gì khác hơn là vài kỷ luật đơn giản, được thực hành mỗi ngày." The secret does not lie in giant leaps, but in steady footsteps. Waking up 10 minutes earlier, drinking a glass of water, or writing down 3 goals, these things may seem insignificant at a glance, but if you do them consistently for 365 days, you are building a completely new identity. When you persist in doing the right thing when no one is watching, you are sending a powerful message to your subconscious: I am trustworthy. Once you become trustworthy in your own eyes, you possess an internal authority that makes you unstoppable in the face of life's storms. You must remember that the pain of discipline is always much lighter than the pain of regret. Discipline weighs only ounces, but regret weighs tons. Every morning, when you choose to win the battle against yourself and get out of bed on time, you might feel a moment of fatigue, but the self-respect and pride that follow will stay with you all day. Conversely, if you indulge your laziness, the feelings of guilt and disappointment will silently gnaw at your soul. You deserve an extraordinary life, but that life is reserved only for those who are willing to pay the price of discipline. Do not wait until you feel ready, because readiness is often an illusion. Start even while you are trembling with fear. Start even when you are exhausted. Discipline is also a way to train the muscle of your will. Much like physical exercise, the first few days are always the most painful and difficult. However, if you push through that stage, discipline gradually becomes a part of your identity, a natural habit that you no longer have to strain to perform. At that point, you aren't forcing yourself to wake up early. You want to wake up early to live every moment to the fullest. You aren't forcing yourself to work. You find joy in growth and contribution. Each morning is the first battle of the day, and if you win that battle of discipline, you gain the momentum to win the rest of the day. There is a heartbreaking truth that life has no room for those who procrastinate. The universe always rewards those who take decisive and steady action. If you keep promising to live differently without taking a specific action, you are lying to yourself. Look in the mirror. The only hero you need is there, waiting for you to make a rock-solid commitment to discipline. Do not let yourself be led by old habits, and do not let past failures define your future path. You are the creator, the leader, and discipline is the sharpest tool you have to carve out the best version of yourself. Living a disciplined life also helps you become calm and steady in a world full of volatility. When you have a schedule, a system of values and rules of living that you never break, you will no longer be easily swayed by drama, conflicting opinions, or random external events. You know exactly where you are going and what you need to do to get there. This clarity brings a deep internal peace. You no longer need to prove anything to anyone because the results of your discipline will speak for themselves. Success doesn't need to be loud. It only needs the quiet persistence of every single morning. Ultimately, remember that discipline is the highest form of self-love. When you are disciplined, you are taking care of your future self. You are ensuring that the version of you 5 or 10 years from now will live a better, freer life because of your efforts today. Do not live like a leaf floating on the water. Live like an intentional internal warrior. Every morning you wake up is an opportunity to reignite the fire of discipline and remind yourself that you were born to do great things. Start with the smallest things, but do them with absolute commitment. Because once you have mastered discipline, you have mastered the key to an extraordinary life. Let every morning be a new vow. I will live rightly, I will act rightly, and I will never give up on myself. Transformation does not come from a miracle. It comes from conscious choices repeated every day. That is the true miracle of being human. Walk across the bridge of discipline with the confidence and pride of someone who knows they are building a glorious future. On Everyday Better You, we don't just talk about change, we build the bridge to it, brick by brick, 1% at a time. Part 6, the hero in the mirror. There is an ironic truth that we are often very good at admiring heroes in movies, great figures in books, or bright stars on social media, yet we are incredibly strict and even cruel to ourselves. Every morning when you wake up, instead of giving yourself a word of encouragement, many choose to look in the mirror and begin a list of defects. Why am I not successful yet? Why am I so lazy? Or why can't I be like them? But I want you to stop for a moment and look deeply into the eyes of the person in that mirror. If you observe with your heart instead of your judgment, you will realize that the person standing in front of you is the only hero you truly need in this life. Who is that hero? It is the version of you that has walked with you through all the ups and downs of existence. That person has experienced so much pain and has survived hundreds of falls that seemed impossible to recover from. That person has had to smile to reassure others while their heart was a sky full of tears. They have resiliently continued on lonely journeys that no one understood and dared to nurture burning dreams even when mocked or looked down upon by the world. You owe that hero a sincere recognition. You owe yourself a chance to live an extraordinary life, not to prove anything to the world, but to be worthy of everything you have sacrificed to stand firm until today. Jim Rohn once shared a profound philosophy. Character is the quality that embodies many important traits, such as integrity, courage, fortitude, honesty, and loyalty. Nhân cách là phẩm chất kết tinh từ nhiều đặc điểm quan trọng như sự chính trực, lòng can đảm, sự kiên cường, lòng trung thực, và sự trung thành. When you look in the mirror, you are seeing a character being tempered through red fire. Your self-respect does not come from the praise of the crowd. It comes from recognizing your own intrinsic value. You do not need to be someone perfect to be worthy of love and respect. It is the scars, the stumbles, and the persistence in not giving up that create a true hero. Many people mistakenly believe they need someone to come to their rescue, a teacher to show the way, or a benefactor to change their destiny. But the reality is that perhaps no one will come except you. You are the only person by your side from your first breath to the final moment of this journey. If you cannot believe in yourself, if you cannot become a support for yourself, who will do it for you? When you wake up each morning and choose not to abandon yourself, that is the most heroic act a human can perform. You don't need to wait for anyone's permission to start living right. You only need the consent of the person looking back at you from the mirror. Identifying the hero in the mirror also means you start learning how to forgive yourself. We often carry the ghosts of old mistakes and regrets about the past like a heavy burden holding back our feet. But a hero is not someone who never makes mistakes, but someone who knows how to rise from the ruins of error to build a brighter future. Do not live forever in torment, for that only withers the fire within you. Look in the mirror and say, I appreciate what you've been through. I forgive you for what you did wrong. And from today, we will write a more glorious new chapter together. Reconciliation with yourself is the key to unlocking the infinite source of creativity and action. Jim Rohn emphasized, success is something you attract by the person you become. Than Kong La Thu Barn Thu Hut by Con Người Ma Barn Tro Thing. When you start to cherish yourself, your energy frequency changes. You will no longer radiate a sense of lack or a plea for external recognition, but instead a steadiness and a calm confidence of someone who knows their value. This new identity will attract opportunities, relationships, and resources that match your stature. You don't need to chase success. Turn yourself into a magnet for success by nurturing the hero within you every day. Every morning, instead of immediately rushing into life's worries, spend a few minutes talking to yourself. Remind yourself of the small victories you've achieved and the resilience you've shown during the most difficult times. When you look in the mirror and see someone living right, someone committed to growth every day, you will feel a deep internal happiness. That is the joy of consistency, where your will and actions become one. You are no longer afraid of the world's judgments, because the opinion of the person in the mirror is what matters most to you. The hero in the mirror is also the one who will help you cross the boundaries of comfort. When you are afraid of a new challenge, remember everything that hero has overcome in the past. If you have survived major storms, then the light rain in front of you is nothing to make you retreat. Believe in the power of persistence and your ability to learn and adapt. Every disciplined action you take in the morning, waking up early, exercising, or learning a new skill is a way you are investing in this hero. An investment in yourself is always the type of investment that brings the highest returns in a person's life. Finally, remember that you were not born to live a faint life that vanishes like an anonymous grain of sand. You carry within you a great seed, a unique mission that only you can fulfill. The hero in the mirror is waiting for you to wake up completely to create extraordinary things together. Never underestimate yourself, because in the moments you feel weakest, your hidden strength is quietly rising the strongest. Start right from this morning, smile at the person in the mirror, and promise that you will go to the end of your dreams with them. Change does not come from a distant miracle. It comes from your decisive nod before the mirror every dawn. When you have the companionship of the only hero, the whole world will automatically clear the way for you to walk. Live so that every time you look in the mirror, you can be proud of the person you are, becoming an alert, steady person full of love who never gives up on themselves. Part 7, designing your morning OSI. Imagine your mind is like a high-end computer. Every morning when you open your eyes, that is the moment your operating system begins to boot up. If you allow message, notifications, work emails, or social media drama to flood in immediately, you are accidentally installing malware of distraction and anxiety into your brain. Jim Rohn once gave a very sharp warning. If you don't learn how to handle the morning, you will never be able to handle the day. Nếu bạn không học cách điều khiển buổi sáng, bạn sẽ không bao giờ có thể điều khiển được cả ngày dài của mình. A person who masters their morning is not just someone who wakes up early, but someone who has the ability to reprogram their mindset for absolute efficiency and alertness. Redesigning your morning operating system starts with understanding that the first hour after waking up is the most sacred time. This is when the barrier between the conscious and subconscious mind is thinnest, offering the best opportunity to reset the entire direction of your life. Instead of scrolling through your phone unconsciously, create a ritual of transformation. This ritual doesn't need to be complex. It only needs commitment. Start by setting your alarm just 30 minutes earlier, and when it rings, jump up immediately like a winner's reflex. Never touch your phone during this first hour, as that is an act of energy suicide. You need to connect with yourself before connecting with the chaotic world outside. A powerful morning operating system should be built on 4 pillars: physical, mind, emotion, and vision. The physical pillar begins by splashing your face with cold water and drinking a glass of warm water to wake up every cell in your body. The mind pillar is when you write down at least 3 of the most important goals you commit to completing during the day, rather than just reacting to whatever happens. Jim Rohn always emphasized that success is the result of meticulous preparation. When you have a clear list, you are creating a compass that helps you avoid getting lost amidst the countless distractions of life. Writing things down is not just a list of tasks. It is an act of swearing to the universe about what you truly desire to achieve. Next is the emotional pillar. Spend a few minutes practicing gratitude. Write down 3 things you feel appreciative of in your current life, even the smallest ones. Gratitude is the lubricant that helps your operating system run smoothly, helping you see opportunities instead of just difficulties. Finally, there is the vision pillar. Spend 5 to 10 minutes listening to powerful reminders, inspiring audio, or reading a few pages of books from masters like Jim Rohn. This is when you load the most positive software into your mind so that the voice of confidence drowns out the voice of fear that always exists within us. Many people will claim they don't have enough time for these things. But the truth is, we always have time for what we truly prioritize. How much time do you spend on meaningless scrolling? How many years have you lived in a repeating model of stagnation? Time is never lacking, only commitment is insufficient. You cannot demand a grand result from small and careless morning habits. Every small action you take in this first hour is an investment with compound interest. If you perform it with discipline continuously, after a while, you will see yourself possessing an internal power that no difficulty can break. Designing your morning also helps you escape the trap of fake busyness. When you start the day with purpose, you will realize that many things you once considered urgent are actually not important at all. You will have the calmness to reject unnecessary drama, turn away from negative conversations, and focus on things that truly create value for your life. As Jim Rohn once shared, success is about mastering simple things consistently. The morning operating system is that simple thing. It doesn't require you to be a genius. It only requires you to be a person who never gives up on the rules they have set for themselves. Remember, every morning you wake up is a reminder that you still have a chance to do it over. Do not carry yesterday's trash into this morning. Learn to completely reset your spirit. When you step out of bed with thorough psychological and practical preparation, you are radiating an energy of proactivity. Others will look at you and wonder why you can be so steady amidst so many storms. The answer is simple. Because you won the first battle of the day right in your own room. A victorious morning leads to a victorious day, and a series of victorious days will create a glorious life. Finally, do not expect immediate perfection. There will be mornings when you feel tired and want to return to old habits. The important thing is not whether you stumble, but how fast you return to your operating system. Treat every morning as an experiment to find what suits you best. Maybe you need an extra 5 minutes of meditation or 10 minutes of light exercise. Be flexible, but never compromise with laziness. The ultimate goal is to turn these actions into a new identity, an inseparable part of who you are. When you have mastered your morning operating system, you will realize that life is no longer a tired battle against external circumstances. Instead, it becomes an inspiring creative journey where you are the driver choosing your own direction. True awakening is not a one-time event, but a choice made steadily every morning. Start right from tomorrow, commit to your first 60 minutes, because that is the solid foundation for building your tower of success and sustainable happiness. You deserve a powerful new beginning. Give it to yourself. Part 8. From awareness to identity. In the journey of personal development, there is a threshold that everyone must cross if they want to achieve true, lasting freedom. That is the threshold of moving from trying to do to becoming. When you first start waking up early or practicing discipline, you often have to use a great deal of willpower to force yourself. But if you persist long enough, a miracle happens. Those actions are no longer a burden. They become your identity. Jim Rohn once said something very beautiful to define sustainable success. The ultimate reason for setting goals is to entice you to become the person it takes to achieve them. Lý do cuối cùng của việc đặt ra mục tiêu là để lôi cuốn bạn trở thành con người cần thiết để đạt được chúng. When you change your identity, you no longer have to ask yourself what to do every morning because the right action flows through your veins like a natural instinct. The transformation from awareness to a new identity does not happen overnight. It is the result of thousands of small choices repeated over and over. Every morning you choose not to hit the snooze button. Every time you choose to read a book instead of scrolling through social media, you are casting a vote for the new version of yourself. One day, you will wake up and realize you are no longer the old person. You no longer think as you did before. You no longer react negatively to difficulties, and you no longer give up easily as you once did. You have changed not because of an external miracle, but because of conscious choices made persistently every day. This is the state that Jim Rohn called the sublimation of character, where discipline has turned into habit and habit has turned into destiny. Why is identity more important than habit? Because habits can be broken by external circumstances, but identity cannot. A person trying to quit smoking will say, I am trying to quit, but a person who has changed their identity will say, I am not a smoker. Similarly, when you have built the identity of an awakened person, you will no longer see waking up early or working with purpose as a sacrifice. You do it because that is who you are. Your self-respect at this point does not come from others looking in, but from the fact that you feel you are living true to the value system you have created. You become steady and calm before every fluctuation because your internal pillar has been driven deep into the ground through every morning of discipline. Changing your identity also brings an invisible, radiating power. When you live rightly, clearly, and strongly, you do not need to use words to convince or preach to anyone. The way you live, the way you act when no one is watching, becomes the flame that inspires those around you. Toxic relationships will gradually fall away because they are no longer on the same frequency, while new opportunities and like-minded people will begin to appear in your life. You become a living testament to the philosophy of getting 1% better every day. Your awakening not only saves you, but it also opens a path for those who are lost to look at and find hope. Remember that your old self will always try to pull you back to the comfort zone. The voices of laziness, fear, and doubt will never disappear completely. But when you have established a new identity, those voices will become small and weak. You will look at them with the understanding of a master instead of the trembling of a slave. You understand that emotions are temporary, while commitment and identity are permanent. Every morning you wake up as a rebirth ceremony where you reaffirm your identity as an internal warrior, a creator, and a leader of your own life. Never compromise with mediocrity again, because you already know how sweet the brilliance of awakening truly is. We are reaching the final moments of this podcast, but this is truly where your journey begins. The words you have just heard are not meant for temporary emotion, but for decisive action right now. Jim Rohn reminded us, if you are not willing to risk the unusual, you will have to settle for the ordinary. Nếu bạn không sẵn lòng mạo hiểm với những điều khác biệt, bạn sẽ phải chấp nhận một cuộc đời bình thường. You were not born to live a makeshift life. You were born to do extraordinary things in your own way. Every tomorrow morning when you open your eyes, the universe is sending you an invitation to write the next, stronger chapter of your life. Do not hesitate, do not find excuses, and do not wait for motivation. Step out of bed with the decisiveness of one who has awakened. Look in the mirror and smile at the hero there, because from now on, the two of you are inseparable allies. The world outside may still be chaotic, but inside you there is now an ocean of peace and strength. If you find these shared words valuable, help me spread this flame to the people you love, those who also crave change but do not know where to start. Leave a comment to tell me what the first action you will take tomorrow morning is. We are here to support each other on the journey of getting 1% better every day. Never forget, you are the rewriter of your own story, the architect of your fate, and the real miracle is right in your hands, starting this very morning. Thank you for listening until this very moment. I wish you an alert mind, a courageous heart, and a brilliant transformation journey. See you in the next episodes on Everyday Better You, where we don't just listen to know, but listen to live a worthy life. As we bring this episode to a close, take a moment to realize that you are no longer the same person who pressed play nearly an hour ago. You have traveled through the philosophy of awakening, the destruction of the victim mindset, the architecture of a morning operating system, and the profound shift from awareness to a new identity. You have been reminded that the bridge to everything you desire is built with the bricks of daily discipline. The journey of getting 1% better every day is not a race against others, but a quiet, persistent marathon against your own shadows. It is about proving to the person in the mirror that they are worth the effort. As Jim Rohn so powerfully noted, success is neither magical nor mysterious. Success is the natural consequence of consistently applying basic fundamentals. Those fundamentals are waiting for you tomorrow morning at the edge of your bed. Do not let the energy you feel right now dissipate into the air. Transform this inspiration into an immediate, ironclad commitment. When the sun rises tomorrow, you have a choice. Will you react to the world, or will you lead your life? Will you listen to the whispers of your old excuses, or will you listen to the roar of the hero within you? Your extraordinary life is not waiting for you in the distant future. It is waiting for you in the next 60 minutes after you wake up. It is found in the glass of water, the pages of a book, and the silence of a focused mind. You are the architect. You are the driver. You are the hero. Thank you for being part of the Everyday Better You community. If this message moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear their own awakening call. Tell us in the comments, what is the one thing you will do differently tomorrow morning? Go forth with a clear mind and a courageous heart. Remember, the miracle isn't in the destination. The miracle is in the transformation you experience every single morning. We will see you in the next episode. Until then, keep striving, keep growing, and keep becoming the person you were born to be. Every day, better you. 1% better every day.